Hello friends, I am Professor Mahesh Jagtap. I welcome you all in this session. Today we are going to talk about the unit number 3, megasporangium. So before starting with this unit, let us have a quick review of the last session. In last session, we have discussed about the unit number 2, microsporangium, in which we have seen the structure of anther. Anther is a component of the stamen, and a typical anther is a tetrasporangial structure which consists of the pollen grains in it. Structurally, anther can be divided into two parts, anther wall and sporogenous tissue. Anther wall further comprises epidermis, which is the outermost protective layer, followed by a single or multi-layered endothecium. The inner walls of the endothecium cells are having fibrous bands, and these fibrous bands help in dehiscence of the anther. The endothecium is followed by the cells of middle layer. These cells of middle layers, they are ephemerals, that is, they are short-lived. So they basically become flattened and crushed during the meiosis in pollen mother cells. The cells of middle layers are involved in storage of starch and other reserves. The last part of the anther wall is tapetum, which is the innermost layer, and it is usually single layered, having a dense cytoplasm and prominent nuclei. The cells of tapetum, they completely surround the sporogenous tissue, and the major function of tapetum is to provide the food material to the developing sporogenous cells. Then we have seen the types of the tapetum. So there are two types of the tapetum. One is amoeboid tapetum and other is secretory tapetum. So amoeboid tapetum is basically characterized by the early breakdown of the inner and radial walls, and because of that the protoplast along with the nutrients are transported to the anther locule, where they provide the nutrition to the developing sporogenous cells. The next type is secretory tapetum, which is in which there is no breakdown of the tapetum wall occurs, but there is a secretion of the nutrients towards the sporogenous cells. Then we have seen the functions of the tapetum. Besides providing nutrition to the developing pollens, the tapetum also performs some other functions, like they are involved in the secretion of the enzyme calyx. Then they are also involved in the secretion of the polysaccharides, sporopollen precursors. Besides that, they are involved in the formation of different structures like acetylysis resistance layer in sporogenous tissue of the Asteraceae members, and they are also involved in formation of the pollen kit, which helps to bind the pollen grains together. And the tapetum is involved in the formation of pollen wall during the post-meiotic period, as we discussed earlier in last session. The callose is basically secreted by the tapetum or provided by the tapetum. Then we discussed about the microsporogenesis, which is the formation of the microspores, that is pollen grains from the microspore mother cells. So this microspore mother cell basically undergoes the meiosis to produce the 4 haploid microspores. The microsporogenesis, it can be divided into two phases. One is karyokinesis and other is cytokinesis. The karyokinesis is nothing but the division of the nucleus, and the nuclei basically divides by the process of meiosis. And the meiosis is nothing but a reductional division, and the genetic recombination also occurs in the meiosis. The outcome of the meiosis is the formation of the 4 haploid nuclei, and this around these 4 haploid nuclei the wall is formed through the process of cytokinesis. So basically cytokinesis is nothing but the wall formation, and this cytokinesis, it can be of two types: successive cytokinesis and simultaneous cytokinesis. Now in successive cytokinesis, meiosis 1 is followed by the wall formation, and here the wall formation is centrifugal, and there is a formation of dyad. Both of the cells of dyad undergo the second meiosis, and there is again wall formation takes place to form the tetrad, and this is very common in monocots. Then Next type of cytokinesis we have seen is simultaneous cytokinesis, where the first meiotic division is not followed by the wall formation and binucleate cell is produced. This binucleate cell undergoes the second meiosis and form the tetrad by the wall formation, and wall formation here is centripetal, that is from center to the periphery. Then we discussed about the structure of pollen. So pollen is basically a haploid structure consisting of the pollen wall, vegetative cell and generative cell. The pollen wall is basically double layered and having outer layer called as exine and inner layer called as a intine. Then the inside the pollen there are two types of the cells can be found, the vegetative cell and generative cell. The vegetative cell is a larger cell with dense cytoplasm and it contains few vacuoles. It has a single haploid nucleus which is generally polymorphic, and the vegetative cell is responsible for the pollen tube formation. The generative cell, which is smaller vermiform cell found in the pollen grain. The nucleus of this generative cell, it divides mitotically to form the two male gametes inside the pollen tube. Then we discussed about the various types of the tetrad, which are classified on the basis of arrangement of the four pollens in tetrad. They are linear tetrad, isobilateral tetrad, tetrahedral tetrad, decussate tetrad and T-shaped tetrad. So in last unit we talked about the microsporangium. Now let us start with the unit number 3, megasporangium. In angiospermic plants, female reproductive organ is carpel, which is also called as a pistil. This carpel is consisting of the stigma, style and ovary. The stigma is a pollen receptive structure which provides the surface for the pollen grains to fall and germinate. The style is elongated tubular structure that provides the path for pollen tube, and ovary is the basal portion of the carpel that consists of the ovules. The ovules are consisting of embryo sac, and embryo sac they basically develops from the functional megasporin nucellus of the ovule. Besides that, embryo sac contains the egg cell, which is the female gamete. So ovules can be called as a megasporangium. Next point is structure of ovule. So ovule is a oval shaped multicellular body with a short stalk called as a funiculus, which attaches with the body of the ovule by hilum. The basal portion of the ovule is called as a chalaza, and the upper end of the ovule is called micropyle, which is a short opening or pore of the ovule. There are three major structural components of the ovule: integuments, nucellus and embryo sac. The first structural component of ovule is integuments. Integuments is a covering of ovule. Now, depending on the number of integuments that cover the ovule can be of three types: bitegmic ovule, unitegmic ovule and ategmic ovule. In bitegmic ovule, there are two integuments covers the ovule, and this can be seen in members of polypetalae and monocots. In unitegmic ovule, only one integument surrounds the ovule, and it can be seen in the members of sympetalae and compositae. In members of Olaceae, the ovules are without integument. So such ovules are called as a ategmic ovule. The integuments basically covers the whole body of the ovule, leaving a small opening which is called as the micropyle, and this micropyle is located at the apex of the ovule. The function of integuments is to provide protection. In some plants, the nucellus degenerates in early stages of the development. So the function of nucellus to provide the nutrition is taken up by the inner wall of the integuments, and this specialized nutritive tissue around the embryo sac is called as a endothelium. After the fertilization, the integuments develops into a seed coat. The next structural component of ovule is nucellus. The nucellus is a mass of diploid cells which is covered by the integuments. It is parenchymatous and makes the main body of the ovule. This embryo sac is basically developed from the one of the cell of nucellus, and the functional megaspores develops into embryo sac in the center of the nucellus. The major function of the nucellus is to provide the nutrition to the embryo sac during the developmental process. And the last component of ovule is embryo sac, which is very much of importance. This embryo sac is a female gametophyte that is developed from the functional megaspore. Structurally, it is 7-celled and 8-nucleated structure. Out of these 7 cells, the 3 cells towards the chalazal end are called as antipodal cells. The binucleated central cell is called as a polar cell or central cell, and towards the micropylar end, 3 cells group together to form the egg apparatus, which consists of the 2 synergids and 1 egg. Now let us see the types of ovule. So basically, depending on the direction of the chalazal and micropylar region, there are 6 types of the ovules. The first is orthotropous ovule, second anatropous, then amphitropous, hemianatropous, compylotropous and cercinotropous ovule. The first type is orthotropous ovule. This orthotropous ovule is a erect ovule in which the micropyle, chalaza and funicle, they lie in a straight line. So that is, the micropyle is directing upward. So this type of the ovule can be found in the members of Polygonaceae, Piperaceae, etc. Next type of ovule is anatropous ovule. So this is an inverted ovule having a bended funicle, and because of that the micropyle is downwardly directed and chalaza is upwardly directed. So it is the most common type in the dicot and monocot plants. Next type of ovule is amphitropous ovule. So in this type of ovule is horizontal in position and funiculus is right angle to the nucellus and integuments, and because of that the micropyle and chalaza, they are lateral in position. This type of ovule can be found in lemna. The next type is hemianatropous ovule. Here the funiculus is right angle to the nucellus and integument, and this type of the ovule can be found in the members of Primulaceae. The next type of ovule is compylotropous ovule. In this type of ovule, the embryo is curved and it is placed transversely, and due to the bending it looks like a horseshoe. So it can also be called as a horseshoe shaped ovule, and due to the bending the micropyle and chalaza, they come close to each other, and this type of ovule can be found in the members of Fabaceae and Cruciferae. The last type of ovule is cercinotropous ovule. So it is a ovule with coiled body due to the rapid growth of ovule on one side. So initially this ovule is straight and then it turns down due to the rapid growth, and again it turns up, and so ultimately the micropyle becomes upward again, and this can be found in Opuntia, plumbago, etc. So these are the various types of the ovules that can be seen in angiospermic plants. The next point is megasporogenesis. So megasporogenesis is the process of development of the megaspore from the megaspore mother cell, which is originated from the archisporial initial cell from the nucellus tissue. So this archisporial initial cell, it basically originates from the nucellus tissue, and this archisporial initial cell, it may directly function as a megaspore mother cell, which undergoes the process of meiosis to produce the 4 haploid megaspores. Out of these 4 haploid megaspores, one remain functional, and the embryo sac is derived from this functional megaspore. So this is how the megaspore formation occurs. That is, the archisporial cell, it functions as it divides to form the parietal cell and sporogenous cells, and these sporogenous cells, it may directly function as a megaspore mother cell, and it forms the linear tetrad of megaspore, and out of these 4 megaspores, one remain functional and 3 degenerates. Now let us see how female gametophyte, that is embryo sac, is formed. So as we discussed bit earlier, the primary archisporial cell, it functions as a megaspore mother cell which undergoes the meiosis to form the 4 megaspores. Out of these 4, one remain functional and other 3 degenerate. So the nucleus of the functional megaspore, it undergoes the mitosis to produce the 2 nuclei, and these 2 nuclei further undergo the mitosis to produce the 4 nuclei, 2 towards the chalazal end and 2 towards the micropylar end. And these 4 nucleated cell, it again undergoes the mitosis to produce the 8 nucleated cell. Now out of these 8 nuclei, 4 are towards the chalazal end and 4 are towards the micropylar end. Now out of the 4 nuclei towards the chalazal end, 3 group together to form the antipodals, and one is set free in the center, and out of 4 nuclei towards the micropylar end, 3 forms the egg apparatus, which consists of 1 egg cell and 2 synergid cells, and 1 nucleus is set free in the center. In the center, a binucleated polar cell is produced. So this is how the embryo sac is developed. Now, based on the origin of archisporium, ovules can be divided again into 2 types: the teninucleate ovule and crassinucleate ovule. In teninucleate type of the ovule, the archisporial cell originates below the nucellar epidermis, and it may directly function as a megaspore mother cell. So this megaspore mother cell remain hypodermal in position, and the nuclear tissue around it remain single layered. So this megaspore mother cell undergoes meiosis to form the linear tetrad, and this linear tetrad remains surrounded by the nucellar epidermis. And again, the out of 4 megaspores of the tetrad, 3 degenerates and 1 form the embryo sac. So this type of the ovule can be found in the members of Sympetali. In crassinucleate type of the ovule, the hypodermal archisporial cell divides transversely, and it forms the parietal cell and inner sporogenous cell. Now the sporogenous cell, due to the division in parietal cell or nucellar epidermis, it remain subhypodermal and it remain embedded in the nucellar tissue. That is, it is deeply seated, and where it undergoes the process of meiosis. That is, this megaspore mother cell undergoes the process of meiosis to produce the 4 haploid megaspores, out of which 3 degenerates and 1 remain functional, and that functional megaspore forms the embryo sac. So this type of the ovule can be seen in the Nigella, anemone, etc. Now let us see the types of embryo sac. So we have seen the development of the embryo sac, in which we have seen how the embryo sac is produced from the megaspore. So based on how many megaspore nuclei are involved in the formation of embryo sac, the embryo sac may be of 3 types: a monosporic embryo sac, bisporic embryo sac, and tetrasporic embryo sac. In monosporic embryo sac, the embryo sac is basically divided from only one functional megaspore. So here we can see that the megaspore mother cell, it undergoes the meiosis to produce the 4 megaspores, out of which 3 degenerates and 1 remain functional. The nucleus of the functional megaspore undergoes the mitosis to produce the embryo sac having 7 cells and 8 nuclei. Now there are two types of the monosporic embryo sac, polygonum type and Enothera type. In polygonum type, chalazal megaspore forms the embryo sac, while in Enothera type, micropylar megaspore forms the embryo sac. The next is bisporic embryo sac. So here the two megaspores nuclei are involved in the formation of this type of the embryo sac. So after meiosis 1 in megaspore mother cell, a dyad is formed, but out of the two cells, only one dyad cell undergo the further division and forms the embryo sac, while other degenerates. So after meiosis 2, the functional dyad cell has a 2 nuclei. These 2 nuclei, they undergo the mitosis to produce the embryo sac. So this bisporic embryo sac is again of two types, that is allium type and endymion type. In allium type, the chalazal dyad cell forms the embryo sac, while in endymion type, micropylar dyad cell forms the embryo sac. The last type of the embryo sac is tetrasporic embryo sac. So when the embryo sac is produced by the 4 megaspores or nuclei of the megaspores, then it is tetrasporic embryo sac. So here in this type of the embryo sac development, neither of the meiotic division is accompanied by wall formation. So all 4 haploid nuclei are present in a common cytoplasm, and that forms the cenomegaspore, and this cenomegaspore, it undergoes the further developments to produce the embryo sac. So here the 4 nuclei of the cenomegaspore, they undergo the mitosis to produce the 8 nucleated cell, which again undergoes the mitosis to produce the 16 nucleated cell. Out of this 16 nuclei, 2 nuclei are grouped together towards the micropylar end to form the egg cell and synergy cells. 6 nuclei, they move towards the periphery, and after wall formation they form the cells, and 8 nuclei, they are grouped together in the center to form the polar cell. This happens in peperomia type of the embryo sac. So with this, we have finished with the unit number 3, that is megasporangium. Now homework time. So again, this is a MCQ test. You have to solve and submit it. All the best for the this test. Now tip time. So today's tip is failure is a next step to success. So whenever if we have failure, or if we fail in our life, so never let that failure to ruin your life. You have to learn from your failure, and you have to prepare again for the challenges that comes in your life. So that's why the failure is a next to the step to the success. I wanted to share my own example. I was failed in 12th class. I was failed in mathematics subject, but in that 1 year I learned so many things about the life, and I decided to pass in 12th, and I decided to make some career, and now I am teaching you. So the thing is that if I could have given up at the time of 12, then I have never been reached here. I overcome my failure, and I have qualified for NET, and now I am having a job, and I have secured my career also. So this is the tip. Failure is the next step to success. Whenever you get failed, you have to prepare more for the next. Thank you very much.